Imagine being the most powerful ruler in the world, feared by millions, commanding vast armies. Now picture yourself trapped in an iron cage, treated like an animal. This isn't fiction. It's the shocking true story of Sultan Bayezid I, once the mightiest Ottoman ruler. Trapped behind cold iron bars, the roar of a defeated empire echoes in every cell. His fall from power was swift and brutal, orchestrated by a man history tried to erase. A figure more ruthless than Genghis Khan, whose actions would reshape empires. This tale of power and betrayal unfolds in a world where even the mightiest can be brought low. As the 14th century drew to a close, a young prince emerged from the Ottoman ranks, destined to become one of the most formidable rulers in European history. Bayezid I, son of Murad I, ascended to the throne in 1389 following his father's death at the Battle of Kosovo. Unlike his predecessors, who had focused primarily on expanding Ottoman territory in the Balkans, Bayezid set his sights on a grander vision: the complete domination of Anatolia and beyond. Bayezid's reign marked a turning point for the Ottoman Empire. His swift and decisive campaigns rapidly expanded Ottoman territory, reshaping the map of Anatolia and the Balkans. Within just a few years, he had consolidated Ottoman control over much of Bulgaria, Macedonia, and Greece. In Anatolia, Bayezid moved with ruthless efficiency to subdue the remaining Turkish beyliks, systematically dismantling these rival states and incorporating their territories into the growing empire. The Ottoman army under Bayezid was a formidable force, combining traditional Turkish cavalry tactics with new innovations. The corps consisted of elite Sipahi cavalry and Janissary infantry, supplemented by units from conquered territories, including Serbian heavy cavalry and Byzantine Greek auxiliaries. Intriguingly, Bayezid's forces also included Western European knights, primarily French and Hungarian nobles, who had been captured or voluntarily entered Ottoman service. Bayezid's military prowess was matched by his administrative acumen and diplomatic strategies. He implemented reforms that strengthened the Ottoman state apparatus and cultivated relationships with local nobles in conquered territories. In his dealings with European powers, Bayezid alternated between diplomacy and intimidation, maintaining cordial relations with the Republic of Venice while using the threat of Ottoman military might to extract concessions from weaker states. It was during this period of rapid conquest that Bayezid earned his famous nickname, Yildirim, or the Thunderbolt. This moniker perfectly captured the essence of his rule: swift, powerful, and devastating to his enemies. Bayezid's lightning strikes across Anatolia and the Balkans had transformed the Ottoman state from a regional power to an empire on the verge of greatness. But beneath these sweeping victories lurked an unacknowledged threat. Bayezid's rapid expansion brought significant challenges. The vast territory now under Ottoman control stretched the empire's resources and manpower to their limits. Maintaining control over such a diverse array of peoples and cultures required constant vigilance and a delicate balance of force and conciliation. Moreover, Bayezid's aggressive policies began to alarm his neighbors. In Europe, the threat of Ottoman expansion sparked calls for a new crusade. In the East, a new power was rising that would soon pose an existential threat to Ottoman ambitions. As Bayezid stood at the pinnacle of his power, the stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of his empire and test the limits of his legendary might. As Bayezid's empire flourished, a far more terrifying storm was brewing in the east. A conqueror so ruthless, he made Genghis Khan look merciful by comparison. His name was Timur, and he would soon become known as the Scourge of God. Born in 1336, near the city of Kesh in modern-day Uzbekistan, Timur rose from humble beginnings to become a force of nature that would reshape the political landscape of Asia. His unquenchable thirst for power and brilliant military mind propelled him to unimaginable heights. leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. Timur's ascent was marked by cunning and brutality. He built alliances, eliminated rivals, and by 1370 had established himself as the ruler of Transoxiana. From there, his empire grew at an astonishing pace, stretching from Delhi to Damascus, from the Aegean Sea to the borders of China. The scale of Timur's brutality set him apart. In Isfahan, he erected towers from the skulls of 70,000 citizens. In Delhi, he massacred 100,000 Hindu prisoners before battle. These acts became the savage signature of a warlord who painted the world in blood. Yet paradoxically, this same man was a patron of the arts and sciences, transforming Samarkand into a center of Islamic learning and culture. Timur's military innovations were as impressive as they were terrifying. He mastered psychological warfare, spreading rumors of his army's invincibility. His highly disciplined and mobile troops covered vast distances with remarkable speed. Timur also employed sophisticated siege techniques, including gunpowder weapons, still relatively new to 14th century warfare. As a leader, Timur inspired fanatical loyalty, rewarding bravery generously, but punishing failure with unspeakable cruelty. This approach created an army both highly motivated and utterly ruthless. Unlike Genghis Khan, Timur seemed more interested in conquest for its own sake. He would sweep through regions, leaving destruction behind, rarely establishing permanent control. This strategy allowed for rapid conquests, but left his empire vulnerable to collapse. Religion played a complex role in Timur's campaigns. While claiming to be a devout Muslim, his actions often contradicted Islamic teachings. He devastated Muslim cities and slaughtered countless fellow believers, using religion primarily as a tool to motivate troops and legitimize his rule. As Timur's empire expanded westward, a collision with the Ottoman Empire became inevitable. Bayezid's rapid conquests in Anatolia had caught Timur's attention, and he saw the Ottoman Sultan as both a rival and a threat. The stage was set for a monumental clash between two of history's most formidable rulers. It was in this period of impending conflict that Timur truly earned his fearsome moniker, the Scourge of God. This title reflected not just his military prowess, but the belief that he was an instrument of divine punishment, sent to chastise a sinful world. As the storm clouds gathered, the question remained, would Bayezid's rising star be eclipsed by Timur's blood-red dawn? As two titans prepared for battle, a single decision would seal the fate of an empire. The year was 1402, and the plains of Anatolia were about to witness a clash that would reshape the balance of power in the medieval world. On one side stood Bayezid I, the Ottoman Sultan who had earned the nickname the Thunderbolt for his swift and decisive military campaigns. On the other, Timur, the Turkic-Mongol conqueror, known as the Scourge of God. Their confrontation was inevitable, but the path that led them to Ankara was paved with provocations, miscalculations, and a growing realization that there wasn't room for two massive empires in the region. The tensions between Timur and Bayezid had been simmering for years. Bayezid's rapid expansion in Anatolia had not gone unnoticed by Timur, who saw the Ottoman push eastward as a direct threat to his own ambitions. The Ottoman conquest of the Turkmen principalities in eastern Anatolia, traditionally under Timurid influence, particularly angered Timur. Diplomatic relations quickly deteriorated into a war of words. Timur demanded Bayezid cease his expansion and acknowledge Timurid supremacy. Bayezid responded with insults, calling Timur a Turkic upstart and boasting of Ottoman invincibility. As insults escalated into strategic maneuvers, both rulers committed to paths that would soon collide. Anatolia's strategic importance was clear. For Bayezid, it was the empire's heartland, bridging his European and Asian territories. For Timur, it represented the key to westward expansion and a chance to recreate the vast Mongol Empire. Control of this pivotal region would provide a significant advantage in dominating the entire Middle East and beyond. As tensions reached a boiling point, both leaders mobilized their forces towards Ankara. Timur's army, a diverse mix of over 100,000 Turkic, Mongol, and Persian troops, moved with practiced efficiency. Bayezid gathered a similar number of Ottoman regulars, along with Serbian vassals and Western European allies. Both armies faced significant challenges as they prepared for battle. The scorching Anatolian summer posed additional problems, with temperatures soaring and dust choking the air. Soldiers marched for miles under the blistering sun, their uniforms drenched in sweat, throats parched from the relentless heat. In the final days before the battle, Timur unveiled a strategy that would prove decisive. Recognizing the importance of water in the arid climate, he ordered his advance units to systematically poison wells and water sources along the Ottoman army's likely route. This cruel but effective tactic forced Bayezid's troops to march for miles with little access to fresh water, weakening them before the battle even began. The scorching sun beat down on the plains of Ankara as two massive armies faced each other in July 1402. Timur's forces, hardened by conquest, stood against the Ottoman army, weakened by their grueling march through poisoned terrain. Empires hung in the balance. Timur's tactical genius immediately became apparent. He positioned his troops to exploit the terrain, using hills and valleys for concealment and surprise attacks. The Ottomans, dehydrated and exhausted, struggled to maintain formations. Then came Timur's secret weapon. A thunderous rumbling shook the earth. Like armored titans from a nightmare, war elephants emerged from behind Timur's lines. The impact was devastating. Ottoman cavalry disintegrated as horses panicked, unfamiliar with these massive beasts. Battle lines crumbled, leaving gaps for Timur's forces to exploit. A corps of Serbian allies, led by Stefan Lazarevic, formed a protective ring around their Ottoman allies. Their resistance prevented a total rout, buying time for Bayezid to rally his forces. Timur played his final card. Disaffected Turkmen tribes within Bayezid's army switched sides, throwing Ottoman ranks into chaos. Bayezid, outmaneuvered at every turn, watched his army collapse. In desperation, Bayezid gathered his elite janissaries and household troops. They fought with unmatched ferocity, carving a path through Timur's forces. For a brief moment, it seemed Bayezid might salvage a draw from defeat. But Timur had anticipated this move. He unleashed his own elite ghulams to meet Bayezid's charge. The clash between these elite warriors was brutal and decisive. Outnumbered and exhausted, Bayezid's last hope crumbled. As night fell, the outcome was clear. The Ottoman army lay in ruins, with thousands dead or captured. Bayezid, cornered atop a small hill, was surrounded by a dwindling circle of loyal guards. Timur's men closed in, and in a final struggle, the Ottoman Sultan was seized. The sight of the mighty thunderbolt in chains sent shockwaves through the medieval world. But Timur's victory was not complete. The true horror of Bayezid's fate and the far-reaching consequences of this battle were only beginning to unfold.
Imagine being the most powerful ruler in the world one day and a prisoner the next. For Sultan Bayezid, this nightmare became reality. As the dust settled on the battlefield of Ankara, the once mighty Ottoman ruler found himself at the mercy of his greatest enemy. Timur's victory was complete, but his thirst for dominance was far from quenched. In the immediate aftermath of the battle, Bayezid was brought before Timur, who initially showed a degree of courtesy to his royal captive. Some accounts suggest Timur offered Bayezid a chance to retain his throne as a vassal, but the proud Ottoman Sultan refused. This defiance marked the beginning of Bayezid's harrowing captivity. The exact nature of Bayezid's imprisonment remains debated. Some contemporary sources describe extreme cruelty, with Bayezid allegedly confined in an iron cage. The Byzantine historian Ducas wrote, "Timur ordered a cage to be made, and kept Bayezid in it like a wild beast. Other accounts suggest less severe, though still degrading conditions. Regardless, Timur sought to make an example of his fallen foe. Bayezid's world shrank to the confines of his prison, the cold metal pressed against his skin, a constant reminder of his fall from grace. Isolation gnawed at his psyche, as he who once commanded armies now commanded nothing. The Ottoman Sultan's despair deepened with each passing day, his imperious might reduced to a spectacle for Timur's amusement. Timur paraded his prized captive before troops and dignitaries, a living testament to his supremacy. This calculated humiliation served multiple purposes. It demoralized Bayezid's followers, weakened the Ottoman Empire, and warned potential rivals of the fate awaiting those who challenged Timur's authority. The capture of their sultan sent shockwaves through the Ottoman realm. With their leader in chains, the empire teetered on the brink of collapse. Bayezid's sons scrambled for control, plunging the state into a period of infighting known as the Ottoman Interregnum. This internal strife further weakened the empire, playing into Timur's hands as he consolidated his newly conquered territories. Diplomatic efforts to secure Bayezid's release proved futile. The Byzantine emperor, Manuel II Palaeologus, once besieged by Bayezid in Constantinople, now advocated for his former enemy's freedom. European powers, wary of Timur's growing threat, also sought negotiations. Yet Timur remained unmoved, recognizing the strategic value of his captive. As months turned to years, Bayezid's physical and mental state deteriorated rapidly. The once vigorous sultan, accustomed to shaping the destiny of an empire, now found himself utterly powerless. Some accounts describe Bayezid falling into deep depression, refusing food and care. In March 1403, less than a year after his capture, Bayezid breathed his last. The circumstances of his death remain shrouded in mystery. The ruler who once threatened to feed his horses oats on the altar of St. Peter's Basilica now lay dead in a foreign land, far from the empire he had strived to expand.
The Battle of Ankara reshaped regional power dynamics. Timur's victory was decisive, but his empire quickly fractured after his death. The Ottomans, however, regrouped and eventually surpassed their former glory, becoming a dominant force for centuries. Timur's conquest failed to create lasting change, possibly due to governance based on fear rather than effectiveness. The Ottomans' resilience proved more enduring than Timur's military might. History often remembers builders over destroyers. The Ottomans' legacy endured, while Timur's faded, a reminder of power's fleeting nature when won through brutality alone. Could today's power structures also have roots in history's most brutal downfalls? The Battle of Ankara's aftermath demonstrates how empires can rise from humiliation, shaping history's course.